Hello, welcome to SHOWstudio's Reese series. I'm here with Matt and Ben from Cottweiler, and we're going to be diving into their Autumn Winter 18 collection. It must feel like bloody ages ago that you guys saw or took part in this collection, so I'm going to try and take you back, rewind.
Okay.
But first off, let's go way, way back, because the inspiration for this was kind of Slovenia, is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I've got some pics I stole from Callum Knight's Tumblr takeover.
Yeah.
So you sent these to him. These are your kind of holiday pics? Is that a bit reductive? Sorry, guys.
They are, yeah, basically they're stills from a video that we took inside this network of caves in Slovenia. We've actually always been interested for some weird reason in kind of salt mines and caves.
Yeah, and natural environments.
Yeah, and we had heard, or I had read a little bit about this place, which is not visited by tourists very often. It's one of the most kind of natural reserves in terms of a cave network, because there's no artificial lighting, and you have to go on these kind of private little tours. So there's just me and Ben and a guide that spent about 5 hours underground, kind of traversing through the cave and then taking this little dinghy through all there's a network of 11 lakes in there.
Right, okay.
And the place is well known. It's been documented by the National Geographic for discovering a lot of kind of new microorganism species there over the past kind of 10, 15 years.
Very cool.
We saw a purple worm.
Yeah.
A few other.
Some things that you couldn't even see, but the guy knew where he lived.
Bit alien.
Yeah, it was really alien. And the thing that really kind of inspired us was, we didn't really know what to expect when we went there, but a lot of the interior of this cave looked kind of almost like modern technology. It had these purple veins, wires running through the kind of roof of the cave, and all the colors were incredible, as you can see in some of these stills. So
really beautiful.
Yeah, for us, we needed a break from the city, and we really wanted to kind of just escape somewhere, and had read about this place, so we went on a little adventure.
It's amazing. It looks like Mars.
Yeah, it was really alien, and they have names for all of these different kind of stalagmite sculptures. So one of them's the cathedral, and all sorts of.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Really
cool. And so let's talk about how does that translate? What's the next stage? So you have these beautiful images and this beautiful trip, and then what do you do? Are you racing back to London and putting pen to paper, or what's your...
Yeah, but I think the process sort of begins whilst we're still on the trip, and we start to talk about how this relates to the story and this kind of ongoing cult or group of boys that develops each season, their environment, where they're living, and obviously this season sort of based around the cave network. So then we take that and go back and start to research deeper into the fabrics and what the boys would be wearing in that certain environment. So.
Yeah, it's always an evolution. Although we kind of experience something and research something, there's always something that connects every season, and it's generally this kind of idea of a group of boys, and we design from kind of a character basis. So we kind of take this research that informs the kind of color palette and a lot of the fabric, like Ben said, but then we kind of imagine this kind of sort of futuristic idea of living underground and kind of our connection with nature and that kind of thing.
And talking about connection with nature, so you guys secured one of the most amazing locations ever for a show. You guys are in the Natural History Museum, so I don't doubt that was a bit of a pain in the tuchus to arrange.
For sure, yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. How did you guys... how did you guys even start?
Well, we kind of knew we wanted to do it there. It's kind of at the same time we went to Slovenia.
Yeah. Okay.
Because obviously we were trying to think where we could create this kind of environment of the cave, but we didn't want to build a cave, and there's no caves around central London. So sort of the mints is to show the sort of collection within a space where elements of the caves or caves throughout the world or whatever have been taken and sort of displayed, kind of allowed us to show the collection, how the collection is talked about, as is the concept is the cave, but it's sort of shown in a modern context. It's shown in a more luxury way. It's behind glass, it's kind of gives it a polish. But yeah, obviously working with the museum is pretty tricky, and they don't do fashion shows, so.
No, they do not.
Logistically, it was really tough working there. They were amazing, actually. They were really accommodating with us. And we've always kind of liked the idea of doing what we do and putting it in a kind of British institution, like when we started at the ICA and various other places. So the Natural History Museum was kind of a step up. You know, it's a British institution and we're a British brand, and it kind of felt like it fitted quite well.
Yeah, and just for viewers at home, you guys had this kind of amazing breadcrumb trail all the way up to the US Treasury. So talk me through like building that, and I know you didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like when you could not tell, it was like amazing, and they had all these kind of mineral sets and tarp everywhere. Is that really important for kind of setting the scene for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Always, like, to create that kind of environment for people. For us, it's about the audience who are walking into that space to experience the show. Obviously, you know, we want to get the right shots for press and stuff like this, but actually for us, it's about people feeling something as soon as they walk in somewhere. And we've done it previously. We've just done it on a much bigger scale this time. When we did the show at the Strand before they'd renovated the building, we put it was supposed to be like a ruin of a hotel resort, and we put a cleaner's trolley in the stairwell as you walk up with loads of white towels, and we hid a couple of white Cottweiler caps inside the trolley. And most people just walked past it, and then some people realised, and then by the end all the caps were stolen and the towels were everywhere, and so some people got it and some people didn't. And what we wanted for this was to kind of make it look like the museum was a little bit kind of under construction, and also for it to look like the boys had either kind of dug up all these minerals or were stealing them from the museum. So it was kind of like this sort of organised chaos as you walk through the space. And logistically, it was really hard. We had a big set team. Sophie Durham worked on the set, and she really pushed herself to kind of build these little installations. I think some people had absolutely no idea.
They thought it was part of the sort of closure of the museum.
I love that though.
Yeah, and also with the museum rules and stuff, you could only have either all of the house lights on or all of them off. Now, obviously, for us to kind of create the atmosphere, we decided just to turn all the power off in the museum. So it was pitch black and then light everything ourselves. And we hired, you know, kind of giant stone pickers and
But I guess that kind of mimics what it would be like in a cave anyway.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of the direct references. So there's always a subtlety to what you guys do, but these kind of harnesses and the stalactites, stalagmites kind of dripping everywhere. Talk to me about the making of this and kind of, are these going into production? Can I buy a stalactite?
Afraid not.
Just wishful thinking on my part there.
Maybe a one-off.
So we tried to create the same process of how a stalactite will form. So once we sort of worked with Mulberry on the bags, and so once we had what we wanted to work with in terms of the accessory, then we dripped like a sort of mixture of like resins and all sorts of things to sort of form the stalactites over about a week and a half leading up to the show.
Amazing.
The same with the footwear as well, but we obviously wanted to create this iridescent, so there was a lot of pigments and testing and so on. In terms of the harnessing, we want to sort of reference the harnessing but not be too obvious, so it's just more sort of elements of harnessing taken from safety harnesses.
We wanted to kind of soften that look, so we wanted to kind of take this kind of utilitarian workwear idea and this kind of cave harnessing and soften it. So the material itself for the webbing is a super strong, it's used for climbing harnesses, but it has this kind of distressed print that we made from the photos from the stills that you just looked at. Just to kind of soften the whole look and make it more elegant.
So the patterns are that direct, they're literally just from the stills?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
beautiful. That's really amazing.
And I guess also the idea with the stalagmites as well was to kind of make it look, and also with the makeup from the show, was to make it look like the boys were becoming their environment. So the boys that are in the kind of pink and white, we kind of cast as boys that looked like stalagmites.
Kind of a post-human.
Yeah, exactly. And
Really
they're
cool.
kind of dripping with this kind of encased silicone and stuff, which is all supposed to kind of be, part of the environment where they've
been like sleeping on the floor of the cave.
Just slowly moulding into the cave.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool. And you mentioned Mulberry. Let's talk about that collaboration a little bit, because I must admit it's not one that most people saw coming, but it just fitted perfectly. It really looked gorgeous with your clothes.
Thank you.
But tell me about kind of the treatment you used on the bags and how the collaboration came about and why Mulberry. And I know you guys have worked with Woolmark for a long time, but for a little while. But yeah, tell me about Mulberry and how did that come about?
Mulberry has always kind of been a brand in the back of my mind. I've always had both of us have always had an interest and a fascination with British fashion houses and what they mean. And for us, it's about craftsmanship, and craftsmanship for us is luxury. We feel like what we do is kind of the future of what a British fashion house could be. So we were interested in collaborating with a brand that was a little bit more traditional and kind of taking it out of that context and appealing to our customer. But obviously what Mulberry stand for is quality. And our challenge for the customization of the bags was to retain that craftsmanship, that idea of a kind of luxury finished product, but then distress it and kind of mold it. So what we did was, as well as kind of adding the stalagmites, we also burnt the leather, washed it, painted it several times over. We worked with Chris Melgram and his design studio and customizing the bags. And yeah, it was really just about modernizing it and kind of making it fit with the concept. But yeah, you're right, a lot of people said the same thing. It was an unlikely collaboration, and we had been working with Reebok for some time, which is probably more of an obvious collaboration for us. So we wanted to kind of just step out that arena a little bit and do something that was a little bit unexpected.
Yeah, I think it does really work though, because there is something really luxury about your clothes as well. Yes, on a kind of surface level you'd be like, yeah, Reebok makes sense, but actually when you really break it down, Mulberry makes so much sense as well.
I think so as well.
And it was the first season as well, we sort of expanded the collection and started doing a lot more leathers and that sort of thing, so it kind of made sense to have leather accessories to support it,
I want to talk to you a bit about that actually, because there's such beautiful kind of textures and leathers with wool and all this kind of stuff. And how do you go about kind of sourcing that, and what's your process in picking and choosing and this with this? And tell me a little bit about that.
I think it always comes from, we tend to sort of have the idea first, make it up in our heads, and then try and find it, instead of finding it and then using it. So for the leathers, we knew we wanted it to look like it was distressed. It was some sort of maybe animal skin or fish skin, something that sort of existed maybe in the cave.
Purple wormy.
The purple worm skin, yeah. So we wanted to, first of all, we realised that, and then we had to find the leather. We had to get it laser etched. Then we had to distress it. Then we decided that we wanted to sort of create these panels of sort of fish skins and stuff. So that gave the overall texture of the leather. The knitwear, we wanted to look as if they've been literally going in and out of gaps in caves and sort of going through crevices and stuff. So it's sort of torn and distressed.
I always feel like there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with what you guys do. There's a little bit, and I'm sure you're going to know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Loads of press have talked about the gun chans.
Yeah.
You kind of, this is your moment to put out the truth.
So actually, when we've been working with Tom Walker, our makeup artist, since before we were even doing fashion shows. He's a really good friend of ours, and he really gets what we do. We had this idea, which I explained to you earlier, about the makeup and the hair looking like the boys had been kind of grown part of this cave. So although the press references were something quite different, it wasn't actually until I was backstage doing the hair and makeup for the show, and the boys had all their hands kind of held up, kind of encased, and I was like, I was like, this could go either way. But
it was a positive reaction.
It was, yeah. But actually, the original intention was very much a kind of natural aesthetic. But I think also what people get from us and from our shows is a lot of sexual energy, and I think people relate that to a lot of other things as well. And I think that's just very much part of an element of what we do and where we come from. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of little things that me and Ben only notice, other things that people interpret in different ways. We're more than happy for people to do that, but it was never on purpose. That was never the intention.
And let's talk a bit about this kind of hand symbol. I'm going going to say the wrong word.
No, go on.
Like an om symbol?
It's actually, originally it's called the hoppy hand. I don't know if I'm even saying that properly, but it's originally a Native American symbol that was kind of taken and used in various different cultures. What it means is kind of peace, unity, community. You know, what we do always has influences from cults because we're really fascinated by that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the symbol of this group of boys, and we just kind of tweaked it to kind of make it our own. So actually, what we always do with the symbols of every season is it always has an association with nature, but it always has an association with something that you either remember but you don't know why. And that little symbol is engraved into like little pebbles on necklaces that you can get in Camden Market and stuff. So,
Oh, okay. I'm with you. That's good.
so the invite, we decided to do this huge version, which is this huge kind of almost like digital rock with the kind of hand engraved into
Yeah,
it.
and that was kind of pearlescent as well, like your pics.
Yeah.
All 360 coming together now.
Exactly.
I get you, I'm with you.
All levels.
And I want to talk a little bit about, I know you both work together on this and you both have different styles, I think. Which are your favourite pieces?
Oh, good question.
I'll go on there. I'm interested to know the difference between, I'll just roll through and pick one. But is there one that you're like, oh yeah, that's my fave?
I really love the knit, especially the pink knit and all the distressed pink knit as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love this kind of crew neck long sleeve as well because we haven't done much knitwear in the past, but since we've been working with Woolmark, we've been actually sort of researching and developing new techniques. Also, I really love the idea of mixing like a distressed knit with a technical piece of sportswear as well.
Yeah.
I think it's about having kind of less rules in what we do sometimes and contradicting things a little bit. So that kind of, especially that look with the printed silk trousers and the distressed knit is definitely kind of one of my favourite looks.
What about you?
It's like probably not the most commercial, but this, just because it's like our signature tracksuit, what we're known for, but with a leather jacket and a Mulberry bag.
I totally get that.
It puts it on another level, and it realises the formality in what we can do. Like, it's not sportswear, it's formal, it can be worn to a different event or, you know, in a different scenario. So I think the loafers, a tracksuit and a leather jacket is like...
I love the loafers. The loafers are great.
Yeah.
I could feel people whispering about the loafers next to me when I was watching this. All right, well, thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.